So that's the intuitive hit. That's where the alignment starts to come in and we're in flow, right? So we can do that through just showing up for the process and putting out some episodes and realizing like, oh, there's more here to explore. Oh, by sharing this, I discovered something else. And actually, that's going to help me take the next step. Really, what I'm trying to share with you here is that podcasting is an alignment tool and it pairs really beautifully with a solid business for that reason. Hi, I'm Christina Barcy. Welcome to the Boss Goddess podcast. This is your invitation to step out of the hustle and into your purpose and passion. What's my secret? Podcasting. This is how I've up-leveled my life on multiple occasions when I was ready to bring my dreams to life. And it's how I help my clients realize their big dreams. This is where you become the boss goddess in your niche and gently bring your dreams to life. If you are ready to say yes to redefining what is next for you with podcasting, then I want to invite you to get my Activate Your Passion with Podcast Blueprint. Just go to boss-goddess.co/activate. This is your free 5-day guide where each day I'll send you an email with guidance and a downloadable prompt, exercise, or tool that you can take some action with to begin to get clear on how to pursue what lights you up with the power of podcasting, from how to get started with your topic to how to build your own ecosystem that you can monetize later. Let's redefine what comes next for you so you can step into your goddess era. Just go to boss-goddess.co/activate. Hi, and welcome to season 13 of the Boss Goddess podcast. I'm Barcy, your host. And we are starting a new season. This is the first episode. And in this season, we're going to be focusing more on what the subtitle of this podcast promises, which is how to deepen and expand your soul-led business with podcasting and with intuitive strategy. Of course, I'll be sprinkling in a few interviews here and there like we always do, but I will be sharing more solo episodes with you, starting with this one. So for today, keep listening because I'm going to really explain why podcasting is an alignment tool for your business, how podcasting can lead the way if you're just figuring out something new. It might be a new business altogether or just a new part of your existing business, and the difference between an intuitive practice and an intuitive strategy, and why podcasting is the perfect companion if a priority for you right now is to begin creating your life and business from alignment, your authenticity, and your purpose. Okay, so if you're wondering what I mean by intuitive strategy, I created a whole episode about it called What is an Intuitive Business Strategy? It's episode 152, and I'll link to it in the show notes. But to summarize, what I mean by that is to allow your decisions and the way you build and structure your business to be led by what feels in alignment for you. So the intuitive practice gets to be expressed through intuitive strategy, which to me means being led by what feels in alignment with you and your truth and your purpose. So the reason I'm going to be talking about podcasting specifically with this topic is because it follows your message and your authenticity. Podcasting follows your message and your authenticity. So it is an intuitive strategy, podcasting, that will help your business feel and be created in alignment with you. It also acts as an expansion tool, and it innately works as this companion to a business. But even more so for a business that wants to lead from authenticity and is message-driven and heart-led, because that's how podcasting works. It's message-driven, and it's designed for you to lean into your authenticity. It's a really, really special container that holds space for you and your growth and your unfolding. The process itself, when you show up to podcast, is a container that you are choosing to use to hold space for yourself, for your own growth, for your own unfolding. So that's number one. I'm doing that right now as I'm talking to you, right? Holding space for myself. but I'm also holding space for you, the listener. So the container also holds space for the listener. And then also, if you have guests, it holds space for your guests. You're creating a space, a very special space and container that reflects you, your authenticity. It's curated by you, your alignment. Everything that you want to bring is in this space, right, that you're creating. It's your energy. And then you get to invite your guests into that energy. And now you're holding space for them as well. And then this podcast process gets to become a practice because of the nature of creating episodes consistently, right? That follows this chosen schedule that you've created, whether that is weekly or bi-monthly or once a month, whatever makes the most sense for you. This process, this now practice, gets to follow your rhythm and not an algorithm. Okay, so here's another reason why it's an alignment tool. When we create podcasts, it follows your rhythm, not an algorithm. So again, it's this alignment tool that you bring into your business that holds all of the space for your growth, your listeners, your guests, whoever you bring into this container. It's all of you, it's all three. And then you get to create the cadence to complement your existing cycles and seasons and what works for you, your time, your energy, and your money, right? And then you're not trying to fit it into this box that already exists that you have to like bend to like an algorithm. Instead, this mirrors you. So it's this beautiful, intuitive alignment tool. That's why I consider it an intuitive strategy for your business. Okay, so if you're feeling the pull to explore podcasting and you are wanting to explore your message with the intention to start shifting your approach to your business to more of an alignment-based approach, then that's what we'll be talking about in this season of the podcast. This also means if you are looking to start something new, start a business with that in mind. Oftentimes we have created many, many different ways in our lives, whether that's, working in corporate, working in a 9-to-5, or even working in a container we created for ourselves, like I did with my agency, that just, again, it mirrors your business, does the same thing. It mirrors you. The podcast mirror you. The podcast will mirror your business as well and your energy, but it can start, you want to start to use it to mirror your alignment. And I want to start doing that with my business. And you might be feeling like you want to start doing that with your business or with a business, which means some things might need to be, created that are new. Some things might need to change. And that shifting moment, podcasting helps you kind of walk that path. And that's how you can start to leverage the podcast element first if you're still kind of unsure what you're going to even offer yet, but you just know that you're like shifting towards a specific purpose and message. So that's, again, because it's message driven, it's really easy to kind of start there and then put all of these clarifying processes in place, because once you start, that's when the clarification really starts to flow. It's also a creative process, which puts you in flow, which helps with clarity as well. It's just a great exchange to start with. This is why I talk about it from the very beginning stage too. It's just a good companion for clarification and developing confidence and developing structure and consistency, all things that you need to create a business. So a couple more things I wanted to point out that are useful to know about how podcasting can help. It creates a landscape for networking. Again, networking that mirrors your energy and allows those that you meet to be energetic matches rather than walking into a networking event. That's really different than creating your own sort of platform to network on when you are engaging together and attracting people in who want to join you in your networking container, right? The podcast. I'm thinking of guests when I say this. And it could be your listeners as well, like you listening to me, right? We are in this exchange together. And it's an opportunity for us to get to know each other better especially if you join me in one of my freebies that I offer or any offer I give, then I can talk to you in my emails, then you can reply and we can talk directly, right? So there's a way to kind of deepen that. If you're listening and you want to have an email exchange, that's a great way to jump in. And it helps expand this whole alignment moment that we can all have together, and we can help grow and unfold together. It's a way to have community and build out your network for the thing that you're trying to amplify, right? The message that you have, the business that you want to build around that message. And I also want to point out that, we have video podcasts too, video first, what I call video first podcasting, where you're really designing your show around the visual versus designing your show around the audio. I do my show around the audio. It's an audio podcast first. So I want to point this out, especially if you're just getting started. I do suggest starting there because here's why. Everything has a frequency. Everything, right? It vibrates. It has some kind of frequency. Audio obviously is a frequency. It's how you edit. You can see the audio frequency waves on the screen when we're audio editing. So your voice has a frequency. I really believe that it is easier to tune into your unique frequency when you have just audio without the distraction of video. And this is what I mean. Think about it this way. When you close your eyes, you can smell better. You can taste better. Your listener, you tell me what you think. You can tune into my energy better by just listening. It requires a different type of attention. I think you can tune into my energy easier, for lack of a better word, because of the simplification of just being able to just listen, And in the reality of it is that audio is, my voice is a frequency, and my voice is going to deliver my energy. So that's one way to think about it. When we're watching something, the brain actually kind of distances itself from what is happening. It thinks of itself as apart from, not a part of. When we listen like this with an audio podcast, we feel a part of. We don't feel apart from. And that's generally speaking, of course. There's also a lot of data that's out there on audio podcasting having the most engaged audiences than any other medium. So if you are looking to build an engaged audience that you want to have a lot of impact around or on, or you want your message to have that impact, I suggest audio podcasting over video podcasting in terms of which one you focus on. I do some YouTube clips and stuff like that too. There's nothing wrong with video. What I mean is sort of what you're going to focus on and how you want to start. Especially if you're just starting, audio is a much lower barrier to begin with. So just for the sake of doing it, I'm a big advocate for starting with audio. And like I said, the audiences, because it's a slow growth, engagement-based platform, the audiences do tend to be smaller, but like I said, your impact increases, which means more conversion, right? If you're pairing your show with a business or something that feels like it could become a business, that's the most important return on investment, if you will, ROI or KPI or however you want to like business it up in terms of the verbiage. But it just means more engagement, means more people who are aligned with what you want to give them. And then that turns into a quote unquote conversion, right? Like what you share is what they came looking for. So that is another reason. That's another reason to do audio podcasting. It's the listeners are more engaged. All of this allows for more alignment in your business, and it grows from there, right? And that it can change. My podcast has changed many times. We'll talk about that in a moment. But really what I'm trying to share with you here is that podcasting is an alignment tool, and it pairs really beautifully with a solid business for that reason. Okay, so one more thing. If you're just starting to create your business or add something new to your business, it serves as a clarity tool. And I talked about this just a touch a moment ago, but if you're not sure what to talk about, but you have this like overall big vision idea, it helps you start to formulate what clarity looks like, because you have to sit down and write an episode or speak an episode or outline an episode, whatever you choose for your process. I like to write them out because it helps me figure out what I want to say. Again, clarify what I want to say. So just the process of prepping this episode for you, I got so much more clarity around what it is I'm trying to create in my new business, bossgoddess.co. And then I'm going to, share this with you. And then I'm going to share with you again in my emails. If you choose to join one of the things I offer, I'll see you in there as well. And we'll talk about it some more. And then the process just continues every time I share the episode with an audience that I'm trying to bring in that I feel aligned with, right? And then the clarification just sort of ripple effects and gets more and more refined. So it's a beautiful creative process that helps you really figure out what it is that you want to do. And if you already are doing what you want to do, it helps you deepen that. And I've witnessed that in my own experience many times. And I've seen it with the clients I work with many times, where we thought we were starting with one thing, but as soon as we started creating, we realized, oh, there's something so much bigger here. That happens almost every single time. And it just that's where the magic happens. But it really requires showing up for the process and then allowing yourself to keep taking steps, even if you don't totally know what you're going to say next. It's just taking the steps, having the exchange with yourself or someone else to bounce ideas off of if that's helpful, someone to guide you who's been there before or who understands the creative process or podcasting, right? And helping you realize like, oh, there's a bigger thing here that I'm trying to create. So that's very common. And then we run with that, right? Because that's the intuitive hit. That's where the alignment starts to come in and we're in flow, right? So we can do that through just showing up for the process and putting out some episodes and realizing like, oh, there's more here to explore. Oh, by sharing this, I discovered something else. And actually, that's going to help me take the next step. So many reasons why it's a beautiful companion for creating something like a big vision or a business. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret, and maybe it's not so secret because I share everything here. Maybe it's really obvious to you, but everything I just told you, it's quite literally what I'm doing. I'm using this podcast in the way I just shared about the clarity. So if you've been with me for a while, then you know that this show was originally called Be Bold, Begin, and that we took about a year off and came back earlier this year in the spring of 2025 with the rebrand. I renamed it and reintroduced this podcast as Boss Goddess because I launched a new part of my business and I call that bossgoddess.co, boss-goddess.co. That's the website. And I've been allowing this podcast to kind of lead the way, but not just lead the way. It's helping me clarify what it is that I want to do within the business within boss-goddess.co. This podcast is not only the inspiration for that, gosh, it's such a big story. And I've shared about it a little bit here and there about how my guests have kind of helped me, recognize my own burnout, my own misalignment and things like that. And kind of helped me step more into my spiritual connection, my own intuitive connection by, allowing space for that to occur with the guests that I was bringing on. That's the short of it. But really, this podcast has evolved a few times. I originally started it back in 2018 when I was a new Kaizen Muse creativity coach. So all of season 1, probably season 2 as well was I don't remember, was a lot. It was all creativity coaching tools to help you get out of your own way. That's why it was called Be Bold, Begin. Like you've got to get started. And it's the same theme more or less that we're sticking with here, but I'm expressing it in a slightly new way. Like the tools are the same, but different, right? It's just the evolution. So I share that with you, that detail about the evolution, because I don't want you to worry about getting it perfect and knowing exactly everything that it needs to be, because whatever that is that you show up with will probably change, not only in the moment of creation when you're figuring out what to say in the very early stages and what it's going to be and all of that you may even have a bigger vision than you realized, right? Like I said, very common. But as you go, you as a human being, if you stick with it, will grow and evolve. The podcast will actually help you do that, like it did for me. If you stick with it and you stay curious and you stay open, you stay in your awareness, you observe, right? You stay engaged with the process. That's what that looks like, being curious and being open. That allows for more evolution to occur. And then it'll change, right? It'll grow with you. And that is such a beautiful thing to have. Not only because it's kind of it becomes your legacy, right? These are words that are documented, that you shared. It's like an open diary in many ways. It's a way for someone to tap into who you are at any point on your journey, because it's out there for like periods of your life, for years, right? If you keep with it, but you've got to start. So yes, be bold and begin, but we're going to do it in the new Boss Goddess way, which is what it is now. Okay. That's my long-winded way of saying you're kind of watching what I'm practicing what I preach here. I'm trying to, it's leading the way. It's showing me what it wants to be, and I'm showing up for it. So this is what following the muse kind of looks like. And we're doing it in real time. So I'm bringing you in as I make these discoveries as well. And coming back to this process, because remember, I took a year off, what I've realized that what brings me the most joy has been the conversations I get to have on this podcast, both when it's just you and me, like it is today, and when I have my guests. And I didn't realize how much I was missing having that process. And I've been growing and clarifying my life so much faster because, again, it's an alignment tool. It's an intuitive strategy. It is helping me stay in connection with who I am and what I'm wanting to evolve towards, what I'm wanting to create. And I missed that. I didn't realize how much I get joy out of that process. It's not always like fun and joyful, by the way. Like growing and evolving and creating new things and trying to break free from something that no longer serves you is a very up and down experience. Don't get me wrong. But my happy place, and where I get to come and express my truth, is what brings me joy. Doing that here with you on this podcast is what I mean. That's where the joy gets to come in. Other places too, but this is a big part of it. This is what I want to do more of. Sharing my truth, guiding others back to theirs. That's what I feel my purpose is, whether that's through art, through acting, through this podcast, through the work I offer, through the tools, through the intuitive connection, tools that I've created, through, podcasting and teaching you how to do that. All of it is designed to guide you back to your truth, to guide you back to your own amazing selves, your own magic, your own knowing. And I know how joyful that can feel when I connect with myself in that way, and how powerful it can be, because that's where the alignment comes from. That's when I get to start experiencing the reflection of my truth in the world around me, right? That's where the action comes in. It's another reason podcasting is great. It's an activation tool as well. It takes us out of the internal and into the external. Because the goal, right, that we want is to change our lives. But what we mean is we want the experience that we're having around us to feel the way we want to feel, to give us the abundance that we want, all of that. So we need the activation part too. So there's a lot of good things about this process of doing this in real time with you, with my podcast. But the beauty of focusing on podcasting this season and in general within the business as well, I'm realizing how much I still want to stay connected to showing you how to do this. But the beauty of that is that I'm also an industry expert, and I want to share that level of expertise with you as well, because I'm aware how few people have been embedded in this industry like I have for over a decade, since 2013. And I'll be honest with you, I did think when I started to realize that things needed to change for me, and that I wanted to be more in my own alignment and share my own truth more, that I felt like I wasn't able to do that in the way that I was showing up daily in my business and the type of business I have and all that good stuff. I thought that in order to get into my alignment and to have this intuitive conversation with you, that I would have to let go of the podcast stuff. So as I stepped back into my podcast, the one you're listening to right now, I realized, okay, no, this is where the magic is. This is the thing. Why don't I surrender to listening to it in a way, and I don't mean like listen to my own show. I mean like listen to the message, the experience, like tune in to what is happening here, because there's something here that just brings me so much joy. And I always say, like, let the joy guide you, right? Like lean into the joy. Like, how do we make this easier? Where's the ease? What if it were easy, right? That's my favorite question. This is how we can activate all of that intuitive work and create the alignment we want in our business by leveraging podcasting in the way I'm describing it for you here in this episode. I know how to bring people's big visions to life with podcasting. That's what we do in my agency. But of course, bringing my own vision to life is always a little trickier because I'm so inside of it, and I'm sharing that with you because if you feel that way, that's so normal. And it took me taking action before I knew what the heck I was doing. And you may have even noticed that on this show, like, okay, is she changing it again? And it's not that I'm changing it, it's that I had to allow the messy middle to happen in real time with you, not just quietly in a corner by myself trying to figure it out, because that wasn't working. I had to get into a process, an activation where the clarity could start to trickle in the spaces where I wanted to show up. Okay, so getting to create this podcast. Before I knew exactly what I wanted to say, that's where all the clarity was able to form. That is really powerful. And I want you to kind of hear that as much as you can, because journaling is great. I love journaling. I think an intuitive, personal, internal process is so important. But there's a moment when we have to start taking some steps forward in the world, some kind of activation, to bring things to life, right? To see our intuitive practice in action. And oftentimes that feels way too soon because we aren't clear. But the tricky part, right? It's the chicken egg thing a little bit, because we have to start before we're ready to get the clarity so that we can build that momentum and be in the flow. It's not super easy, but you've just listened to me do it this year. I'm doing it right now. And I encourage you to be uncomfortable and do it anyway. And to just do it anyway. Listen, whoever's listening right now, I'm going to trust that you're giving me grace. And I'm going to trust that you're more worried about your own journey than mine. And I'm telling that to you because if you're feeling like, what are people going to think? What are they going to say? Da, 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 da. It's not social media, especially if you do an audio podcast. You get to actually just create your thing and share it when you feel like it. Maybe just creating it is the first step. And you can share it later when you're ready. You can publish it, but if you don't add all the bells and whistles and lean in really hard on the marketing, that's what I mean by bells and whistles, like posting on social or telling everyone about it. You don't have to do all of that right away. You can publish all of this whenever you feel like it. Get your few listeners who found it, and then allow it to just evolve with you until you're ready to go big with it or lean in more or whatnot, or, do some more marketing, whatever it is. But the creative process itself is a really beautiful thing. And the activation of doing that can really help you step into the clarity that you might feel foggy about right now. So I've experienced that several times in doing this show. We took another break this year because I felt like I didn't know what the heck I was talking about again. I had to step back into my internal process for a bit. So if I went on a bigger break than we normally do, which we did, normally I'll take off like 2 to 3 weeks and I'll do re-releases then. But because we were starting over, I didn't want to do that. Not starting over, but we rebranded, and I wanted to have a more specific conversation. But I was holding on too tight to wanting it to be exactly this certain thing because I wanted it to be all perfectly packaged and be this rebrand and all of that stuff. And I had to just let go of that. But it took me a moment. I had to pause and go back and connect with myself and then come back out again. But it wasn't until I came back out again that I was really finding my new voice, right? Like finding a new way to talk to you. And this is a version of that. It's evolving again, and it will continue to evolve if I stick with the process. Doesn't mean we won't ever take a break. It just means that I'm feeling the energy spark, that we've got the momentum now because the clarity is happening. Okay, so I'm sharing that with you so that you can take what you want from that. If you're feeling a little stuck, if you're feeling a little unclear, and you're wanting to do something, like you have the energy around the inspiration, right? This is a way to start working with the energy. And okay, so to put all of this into perspective, I'm just going to do a little overview. Intuitive practices help us build the awareness and the connection so we can begin to know what alignment looks like for us. It's different for everyone, and it changes over time as well for each of us. Okay, they are the intuitive practices are what you can do with yourself to develop that deep trust and relationship with who you are at your core, your truth, your purpose, the beliefs that belong to you, the beliefs you might want to shift, etc. It's tapping into all of that. This then guides us towards our alignment by learning what experiences and actions are in alignment with what we actually want and who we are, right? What we actually want is to be who we are in our most honest truths. And we want our experiences to reflect that back to us, essentially. That's what we all are kind of after. And I'm going to throw this in too. You are already innately abundant. You're already innately peaceful. You're already innately joyful. Like all that stuff lives inside of you. What we're really after is finding how to tap into that, align with it, and align with our unique expression of those things that matter the most to us, what we feel is our purpose, and then experience that in our lives. So that's a quick, dirty overview of like what most of us are trying to do on this planet. Okay. Also, by the way, I do have a few offerings in this category of intuitive practices now on the bossgoddess.co website. In particular, the Reclaim Your Calling audio course, which combines guided meditations and journal practices that tap into your unconscious beliefs to then gently shift them so that you can work with them. And that is an intuitive program, the Reclaim Your Calling audio course that works with connecting with your purpose and defining your message. And that course is an example of an intuitive practice. Okay, then there are the intuitive strategies that are the things that you can do, like podcasting, to activate in your life and business. So it's kind of like the application of your intuitive practice, the intuitive strategies. You could also call them alignment tools, or alignment strategies. These are just ways for me to categorize these things so that we're speaking the same language. And that's a way to bring that inner work forward so that you can apply alignment to your business. Okay, so that is the core reason, all of that I just shared with you, that this is the reason that I'm positioning podcasting as our main theme for this next set of episodes and the work that I want to do inside of bossgoddess.co. Within that theme, that also opens us up to talk about more complementary strategies that can help us lead with authenticity and alignment for our soul-led businesses or big visions. Like I'll be talking about Pinterest again. I'll be sharing more about paid and organic marketing styles like Facebook and Instagram ads. You may have, if you're on my email list, you may have gotten some information about that already. And then how paid podcast ads work, how to plan based on your sacred resources, your time, energy, your money. And then speaking of money, how podcasts actually make money in your business, because there's a lot of noise out there now about how this all works and where it fits into the plan and how to position it and how to leverage it. And it can be very overwhelming. So I'm just going to break it down and give you like the real reality behind what podcasting does when it comes to, money and growth and all of that. And there's numbers and there's data for it too, which is great. So all of that, these are complementary actions to the core strategy of podcasting that you can take within your business. So podcasting is like your big companion, and then all these other things help tie in your marketing, tie in your growth, and like help, they work together to kind of bolster all of these efforts, right? So that's the framework that I'm really excited to walk aside you with. That is what I'm creating under the umbrella of boss-goddess.co. This is the space we come to learn and discuss and hear stories and grow and get inspired and evolve together, get more understanding of how we might add alignment tools to our experience, how we might get into our awareness around our own intuitive connection to understand what that means to us, what and being in alignment means to us, right? To each of us. You know, how do we even do that? That's the intuitive practice. How do we start adding intuitive business strategy into our business? Like, how do we start leading from alignment? This is what we'll be talking about. This is where we're going to come to explore that and explain that, teach that. I'm really excited for it. I know I sound a little different because I'm really excited today about this topic. It's something that's been on my heart for a really long time that I feel like I haven't had the words for because I've been murking through like my own misalignment. And I feel like I'm finally coming out of that. So I'm just excited to be here. And if you enjoyed the value that you got from today's episode, I would really love if you have a moment to share your thoughts in a review on Apple Podcasts. You'll find the review section right at the bottom of the feed below where you're listening, if you're listening on a cell phone. And that would mean so much to me because, one, I love hearing from you. And if you're not on my email list, this is one way to do that. It helps me see that you are getting the episodes and what you think. It helps me know what to create more of. And it's just a fun way for others to understand what the show is in a quick snapshot through your words. So thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to talk more. I'll see you next week. Bye for now. Thank you so much for listening to the Boss Goddess podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you're inspired and ready to take action on bringing your passion to life with podcasting, then be sure to get my free Activate Your Passion with Podcasting blueprint at boss-goddess.co/activate to get started. That link is also in the show notes, but here it is again, boss-goddess.co/activate. And I'll see you on the inside.